All right, here we go, guys. Section 5.4, we're going to split this into two parts. This section is all about dividing polynomials. This section will take us into the next part of solving, because can everything be factored? No, it can't be. So we need other options if it cannot be factored. So we need to learn how to divide polynomials so that eventually I can give you something that has like 6 terms long. We don't know how to factor things with 6 terms, right? We know 2 terms, 3 terms, 4 terms. But we'll be able to take something with like 6 terms, and we'll be able to use the graphing calculators to help us out a little bit, and then we can use some division so we can get it down to something that we can then solve. All right? All right, so I'm going to start with plain old long division today, okay? We're going to start with just plain old numbers, and we'll kind of baby step into it. Now, I will tell you guys that I saw my niece yesterday. She's 10. She's in 4th grade. She was doing long division. Like, she was solving story problems with long division, like, without a second thought. She was doing great. So she's in 4th grade. So she probably learned it either at the end of 3rd grade or she learned it at the beginning of this year, but she did it just fine. She's 10. So you guys have learned it at some point. Yes. We're going to start with plain numbers, and then we're going to do this with polynomials. No. So I understand. Many of you probably will tell me you never learned it. Bull crap. But I'm going to reteach it to you now. So no whining, no complaining. Just pay attention, okay? Guys, it's not that hard. Yeah. And can you subtract? It's not that bad, okay? I promise.
You don't see me for a week, you'll know why.
You're responsible for this whether you are here or not. All right, so guys, the reason I'm starting with plain old numbers, obviously to refresh your memory on this, but I want you to recognize the pattern of what we're doing because it's the same process over and over and over again. And we're going to use that same idea with polynomials and all the x's and all of that stuff. Okay? So kind of follow the process with me. So we start with, no. How many times does 3 go into 6? Twice. Twice. So whatever number it is, we're going to write that up top. And then you will multiply, right? 2 times 3, which is 6. And we write that underneath. And then you subtract. 6 minus 6 is 0. So then we would take the next number, and we drop that down, and then the process will start over. Okay, so let's kind of talk through that, because this is the same process we're going to take when we get the x's and all of that stuff. So I'm going to look at how many times does 3 go into 7? Twice. So you write the 2 up top. You guys with me so far? I just wrote the 2 up top. Then you're going to multiply that. 2 times 3 is 6, and we write that down below. And then you have to subtract. So we get 1. Take that next number, we're going to drop it down. And the process starts over again. So how many times does 3 go into 12? 4. And then you multiply. 4 times 3 is 12. And then we subtract. And there's 0. And there's nothing else to bring down. We're done. Yeah, so 3 times 224 equals 672. Well, I'll be honest with you. You guys are all part of that generation that went through like 12 different cycles of how to teach things. Seriously, you guys kind of got the short end of all that. Like the whole like cluster method for multiplying, and then this method and that method and this and da da da. And, I feel bad for you guys. I really do. So this is old school. Like this is how I learned long division. This is how I learned it. Good. Well, I just did. Is this making sense? This is the process I took. Noah? You are. We need to go old school. All right, so here we go. Let's take a look at the next one. On these, could you use a calculator? Yes. But that won't help you with the process once you get variables involved where you can't use the calculator. All right. Yeah, I'm preparing you to divide with polynomials. Yeah, you should have learned this a long time ago. I'm just trying to refresh your memories before I throw variables at you. The first rule was no whining. No. No. All right, here we go. So how many times does 4 go into 1? 0, so I can't do that. So how many times does 4 go into 12? 3. Let's put the 3 up top. We multiply 3 times 4. And then we have to subtract. 12 minus 12 is 0. Drop down the next number. We start again. But guys, I want you to recognize this pattern. How many times does it go in? So we put a number up top, and then we multiply it, bring it down, subtract, start over. It's the same process over and over. How many times does, hold that thought, how many times does 4 go into 5? So we multiply 1 times 4, and then subtract. So that's 1. Bring down the next number. We start again. How many times does 4 go into 13? 3. Multiply 3 times 4 is 12. Subtract 1. Bring down the next number. We start again. I want to make sure everybody's on the same track with me. How many times does 4 go into 16? 4. Multiply 4 times 4. Subtract 0. Bring down the next number. How many times does 4 go into 3? 0. Multiply 0 times 4. Subtract 3. Bring down the next number. How many times does 4 go into 35? 8. Multiply 8 times 4 is 32. And subtract 3. What do we do with the remainder? Do not tell me put a giant R up there. Trey? I don't want a decimal. The adding a 0, that would give me the decimal expansion. No. I want a fraction. What fraction? It's 3 over 4. Whatever your remainder is goes over top of whatever it was you were dividing by. So 1,253,635 divided by 4 is 313,408 and 3/4. Hello? But guys, again, the whole point of all of this is I want you to be able to recognize the process, okay? Because we're going to look at, I can't use this in my calculator. My calculator won't do this for me. Trey? Do I ever want decimals? No, the reason I don't want decimals is because I'm dealing with variables, and I can't do variables with decimals. No, you can't. You really can't. All right, so it's the same idea. Let's go ahead and set it up first, okay? So 6x squared plus 7x plus 2 needs to be divided by 2x plus 1. So which number goes underneath this? The 6x squared, good. 6x squared plus 7x plus 2 divided by 2x plus 1. Now, we're going to go nice and slow, okay? So I know some of you will get this real fast. Please don't talk ahead so everybody can stay on the same page. This is one of those things that it's not hard if you know the process, but it's one of those if you hand me your paper and go, where did I mess up? I cringe a little bit and die a little bit inside because it takes a long time to look back through your work to figure it out, okay? All right, so here we go. When we are starting these, a little bit of a difference from the plain old long division, I'm going to start by only looking at the first numbers. Okay, I'm not really looking at what else is going on over here. I don't care what else is going on over here. First part, first part. Okay, so what do you multiply 2x by to get 6x squared? 3x. So that's how we're figuring out the first part. You're always looking at the first terms. What do you multiply the one to get the other? It will. I'll give you ones that always do. What did we do before, after I put the number up top? I multiplied. Same idea. Multiply. 6x squared. Now, if I'm multiplying, I got to distribute that. Yep, so 3x times 1 is 3x. I had to distribute, right, because I had more stuff going on out here. What was your next step? After you multiplied and I wrote the number down, I subtracted. That is a huge, huge ordeal. Because if I would give you this, and I asked you to subtract, what would you do with that? You would change all the signs, right? So if I'm subtracting this, what happens to all my signs? They all change. So this is a minus, and this plus then will switch to a minus. So instead of saying subtract, what I'll honestly usually say at that point is change your signs, because that's in essence what you're doing. You're changing all your signs. Okay? All right, so 6x squared minus 6x squared. If that doesn't cancel out, you did something wrong, because it should. Right? Because that's exactly what I asked you, is what do you multiply to get that? So it should go away. 7x minus 3x is 4x. And then I need to bring down the next part. And the process will start over.
So then you do the 2x and 4x?
Yep. So what do you multiply 2x to get 4x? 2. Positive or negative 2? Positive 2. So plus 2. All right. Once I write it up top, what am I doing with it? You multiply it. So 2 times 2x. 4x. Nope, there was no x with it. And then 2 times 1 is 2. Then what? Change all your signs. So this is minus. I personally wouldn't. And then that cancels and that cancels. There we go. Hold that thought. I want you to look at what we have. So it's asking you to divide these two. So what does that mean about 3x plus 2? What it truly means, 2x plus 1, is what I started with, multiplied by 3x plus 2 equals this. What form is this? It's factored form. You absolutely could check it. You could multiply that together and make sure it works. Next week. We'll start looking at more of that. This week, we're just dividing. And I'm going to ask you, though, is it a factor? Was 2x plus 1 a factor of 6x squared plus 7x plus 2? Did it divide nice and pretty? Yeah, so it was a factor. That'll be an easy point right there. No?
So if you wanted to, could you just like reverse engineer and like find the other factors of 3x plus squared? Just no, you have to get the division to find that.
I know what you're asking. You're asking, can I just factor this and get the other one? In this case, yeah, you could have. But do you think all of mine will come out nice and pretty? Ew. Way too easy, Noah. All right, let's try another one. So x cubed plus 5x squared minus 7x plus 2 divided by x minus 2. So the first thing, let's just set it up. The directions say divide this by this. 5x squared minus 7x plus 2 divided by x minus 2. All right, we'll go nice and slow again before I give you one to try on your own, okay? So here we go. Remember, we're just looking at the first ones. What do you multiply x by to get x cubed? Not 3x. X squared. All right, I already have x to the first. I need it to be x cubed. I'm missing x squared. All right, 2 more of them and 1 more makes 3. Then we multiply x squared times x. It's x cubed. X squared times negative 2 minus 2x squared. My next step is to change your signs. Guys, here, I know a lot of you are like, can I just switch my signs when I'm doing it? Technically you could, but I don't recommend it. More kids make mistakes when they do that. Because you got one sign flipped, what's wrong with your whole answer? Gone. The whole thing's gone.
When you drop that down, it'd be a negative x
Right. That's my next step is I change. So it's going to flip them. Even, yep, because normally with long division you subtract. Subtraction changes all your signs. So to be honest with you guys, even me, still, you'll watch me make an answer key. I'll write it all down, and then I'll go back through and I'll change my signs after. I don't do it at the same time. So x cubed minus x cubed? Wow, that was the hard question of the day right there. 5x squared plus 2x squared. 7x squared. That's all right. Drop down the next part. I'll be honest with you guys, I usually drop down the whole thing. Just because. Yeah. Because sometimes all your like terms don't always line up perfectly, and if I leave some stuff up top and I don't bring it down, then I get lost and confused. Or you just totally forget it. Yeah, so I have a tendency, I bring the whole thing down with me every time. Start over. What do you multiply x to get 7x squared? 7x, positive 7x. So I'm going to multiply 7x times x, 7x squared. 7x times negative 2, negative 14x. Then what? What's my next step? Change your signs. So 7x squared minus 7x squared. Negative 7x plus 14x. Bring down the plus 2. And we start again. We keep going until we can't keep going through the process. What do you multiply x by to get 7x? 7. Positive 7. We multiply 7 times x. 7 times negative 2. Bless you. Change your signs. 16. Anything to bring down? Nope. Can I multiply x by something to get 16? No. Bless you. So I know I'm done, right? I can't keep going by this process. I can't do that anymore. That's my remainder. Yes. It's going to be plus, right, because I need to add on to this part, 16 over x minus 2. So was x minus 2 a factor of that? No, it did not divide nice. It's not a factor.
How do you set that equal to 0?
Or not. Not yet. Someday. But there'll be a section of your test on Friday that will say divide. And you'll have to determine whether you use long division or synthetic division, which I'll teach you tomorrow. Synthetic division is my favorite. But you can't use it on everything, which is why I don't just teach just that. Oh, no, you'll like it. At first, you're like, what just happened? Because it's so different. But then you're like, this is awesome. Because I don't have to worry about changing my signs in synthetic division. I don't have to write down the x's in synthetic division. Like, it's a beautiful process. Noah?
How did you get that name?
I don't know.
Such a weird name.
Oh, I better not let you go on your own on this one. I was going to, but I forgot that was the next one on here. All right, here we go. So use long division. Right away, some things have changed in this problem. What's different on this one? The parentheses is just how it's written. It's written slightly different, right? It's got a little division thing. Right, we still have the same idea going on, right? I'm dividing by 3 terms this time instead of 2 terms. How about the original part of the problem? What's different there? There is 4 terms. Does anything... There it is. I'm missing the x squared. In my original part, 3x to the 4th minus 5x cubed plus 4x. Whoa, it went from x to the 4th, x cubed, x. It misses that x squared in between there. Now, as we switch into synthetic, you have to recognize things are missing. Okay? Some teachers will make you put zeros in place of the missing pieces in long division. I don't require it. Some teachers do. To me, that just gets really annoying, so I don't do it. But let's kind of just take a look and see what happens with this problem. All right, so I'm still taking this divided by that. So 3x to the 4th minus 5x cubed plus 4x minus 6 divided by x squared minus 3x plus 5. Whew. This is a doozy. Nah. It's all good. All right, where do I start, though? Which terms am I looking at? Yeah, I still look at the first terms, no matter what the problem looks like. What do you multiply x squared to get 3x to the fourth? 3x squared. So again, we write it up top. And then what? Multiply it. Now you're going to have to distribute it to three things this time. So 3x to the fourth. Try again. 9x cubed minus 9x cubed. Multiply here. Plus 15x squared. We got to change our signs. So that becomes a minus, becomes a plus. This is going to become a minus. It's important that we take the time to change those signs. Okay? All right, so take a look what's going on here. 3x to the fourth minus 3x to the fourth. Gone. Negative 5x cubed plus 9x cubed. 4x cubed. 4x minus 15x squared. Those aren't like terms. Right away from the beginning, Justin said you're missing the x squared part. So what happens? My like terms didn't line up. So I have minus 15x squared. Doesn't have a like term. Plus 4x. Minus 6, yeah. Just so be careful. When you have things missing, a lot of times you get your like terms that don't line up. So we got to be real careful.
When they don't line up,
yeah, they just kind of join the party, hanging on. Noah. No, not everything had an X. Right? Like he doesn't have an X. So nope, I can't do that. It won't. All right, so here we go. Starting over. What do you multiply x squared to get 4x cubed? 4x. A positive 4x. And then we multiply it. 4x times x squared. 4x times negative 3x. 12x squared. And 4x times 5. 20x. Then what? Switch your signs. Good. Now we have 0. That's gone. What do we get here? Here? And minus 6. And we start over, right? Do you see how the same process kind of just continues over and over?
It's not that hard.
It is. But can you see where it gets hard for me when you look at it and go, Miss Solner, I messed up. Can you find my mistake? And I'm going, right? Like it's hard for me to find your mistake in this. You should just get it right. What do you multiply x squared to get negative 3x squared? Negative 3. What? All right, so then we distribute, right? Negative 3 times x squared. Negative 3 times negative 3x. Try again. Positive 9x. Negative 3 times 5. And then change your signs.
I ran out of room on my notes.
So that canceled. This gives me negative 16x minus 9x, negative 25x plus 9. Can I start again? Can I multiply x squared to get negative 25x? No, I can't do that. So that's my remainder. Negative 25x plus 9 all over x squared minus 3x plus 5. Now, it's really important, make sure you're putting the plus and then the top of that fraction, okay? You're always adding on that remainder on the end, Okay, always add it. So was x squared minus 3x plus 5 a factor of it? No, there's a remainder. How are we feeling so far? Okay, Damon told me it's not that hard, just time consuming. It's long. We doing okay, Noah? All right, why don't you guys try this one on your own? All right, guys, let's go through this, shall we? All right, going through the process, what do you multiply x to get 4x squared? 4x. Good job. We multiply 4x times x. 4x squared. 4x times 5. Then change your signs. So this cancels. It gives me 3x. Bring down the minus 16. Start again. What do you multiply x to get 3x? 3, positive 3. Distribute. So we get 3x. 15 plus 15. Here's where a lot of you messed up. You have to change your signs. So when I change my signs, this does not give me negative 1, negative 31. Now, all of you check your papers. You need to add your remainder on, negative 31 over x plus 5. Make sure you have the adding on your remainder. Okay? Good. Was x plus 5 a factor of it? No. It was not. All right. Hold on. I know my notes got switched. Is this the same thing on yours? Okay. All right, so here we go. What do we notice right away? A couple things have changed in this problem.
There's no x.
There's no x. It went x squared and then 1. It's missing the x term. What about this one? This one's missing the x over here. Oh, I thought it was the fact its remainder is 0. We've already talked about that. Sorry, I switched my notes. All right, so let's go ahead and set it up. So 3x to the 4th. Guys, focus please. Minus 4x cubed plus 12x squared plus 5 divided by x squared plus 1. Let's kind of see what happens. What happens when things are missing? Does it change it? Let's check it out. So what do you multiply x squared to get 3x to the 4th? 3x squared. And we multiply 3x squared times x squared. 3x squared times 1 is 3x squared. Now notice, before I even write it down, do you notice if I put it here, it doesn't line up? I may write it over here. That way my like terms actually line up. Because then my like terms line up. Change your signs. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I just recognize that not my like terms line up over here.
It kind of confused me. I didn't know you just take it and move them somewhere else.
I just left a bigger space when I wrote it down. Don't panic. Don't panic. So I have negative 4x cubed, 12x squared minus 3x squared is 9x squared, and the plus 5. Just bringing everything down. I just lined it up. I like things to line up. Then don't line them up. I will. You don't have to. And then we start again, right? What do you multiply x squared to get negative 4x cubed? Negative 4x. Multiply negative 4x times x squared. Negative 4x times 1. Change your signs. So that's gone. What do we got going on over here? Plus 4x plus 5. They're not like terms. I just kind of see that I wasn't totally crazy. And we start again. What do you multiply x squared to get 9x squared? 9. Just 9? Positive 9. Multiply 9 times x squared. 9 times 1.
You're just gonna line it up.
I'm not, just because I don't want to hear you complain.
Come on, I finally get it.
If it was me doing this on my own, I'd have written it over there. Change your signs.
So no matter what.
So I have 4x minus 4. Not necessarily. Not everything canceled but the last number. Because I can't keep going, right? I can't turn an x squared into a 4x.
So 4x minus 4
Plus 4x minus 4 all over x squared. Is x squared plus 1 a factor? No, it's not. Okay. The way I did it with the gap on there? Yeah, absolutely. That's what I would do. Don't listen to him. He's just a big baby. Let's do one more. Is this the last one on your notes? Yeah. Let's do this one, then we'll do our Planksgiving. Apparently, Ms. McCourt, I'm going to make you call her again. Actually, why don't you call her right now? All right, last one, guys. Is x minus 2 a factor of p of x equals x to the 5th minus 32?
Yes.
What's missing? Everything? There's no x to the 4th, x cubed, x squared, or x? His name is Phil versus Frank. Whatever. Don't care. Don't care. Don't care. So x to the 5th minus 32. We're dividing by x minus 2. Shh. Damien. All right, here we go. We're going to start right with this one. It looks simple enough, right? What do you multiply x to get x to the 5th? X to the 4th. So multiply x to the 4th times x. X to the 4th times negative 2. Negative 2x to the 4th. Hi. And change your signs. Should we have Mrs. McCourt finish this problem with you?
Yeah.
Here, Mrs. McCourt, you want to finish?
She's just confusing.
Oh, stop it. She teaches just like I do. Here, I'll finish this one step. 2x to the 4th minus 32. I don't make my kids put zeros in.
That's really weird.
See, she's the one that makes people put zeros in. Because sometimes the zeros aren't needed. That's why I don't overdo it.
Somebody tell me, what do we need to multiply by next? What is 2x? 2x cubed. So we need to pause this. We're going to do 2x cubed. Plus, so what do we get when we do 2x cubed times x? That's funny. Sometimes I do feel like I'm like the answer, so there it is.
No, you're fine.
Okay, so what do we got to do next? Signs, good. So we're going to change our signs.
I do.
Okay, so these cancel. We got negative positive x cubed minus 32. I think I tried that one.
My kids like it better that way.
Is that weird? Did you show them how to do it with the zeros?
Nope. Mm-mm. We talked about it.
Okay, if we have multiple by 4.
You gotta put it over the thing. Put it over the fraction. Oh, yeah.
Got to make her.
I'm sorry, it wants to do this. Oh, I didn't realize I was doing tape.
Nobody watches.
So why is 4x not going to work? I don't think 4x is going to work. Ah, sweet.
those exponents are going to match up. So 4x squared times x will give you that 4x cubed that you need. And then 4x squared times negative 2 will give you negative 8x squared. Gotta change signs. Gotta change those signs. Again, those will cancel, and now we have 8x squared minus 32. Jeez, I wonder who made this one.
Yeah, it was probably me.
He just keeps going. So what are we going to multiply by now? 8x. Finally, we get just that x. And again, another positive, so don't forget that plus sign. Do your kids forget the plus sign already?
I drill them.
Okay, so what do we get when we multiply by 8x? What else? Positive 16x or negative 16x. The signs make a big difference. Okay, we got to change those signs, and again, we are getting those same things there to cancel. Kind of looks like I crossed out for Frank, sorry. Messy there.
She got it.
Yep. So,
Add 16.
multiply by 16, by plus 16. I'll agree with that. I know. Plus 16, we multiply by 16.
When we come back from Thanksgiving, that's all I'll write in.
Such a dork. Perfect. You're on the wrong side. It belongs over here. And they do cancel.